Today I'm going to be sharing with you how you can take any painting and make it better using these 3 simple steps. So I'm going to turn this painting into this using my 3-step method.
I went out plein air painting and I came home with a bad painting. All artists make bad paintings. Even really good artists make bad paintings from time to time. They just don't show you on their social media accounts. But if you've made a bad painting, don't throw it in the trash. These steps are the foundation of making a good painting, and it can improve any bad painting if you apply them.
So when you're looking at your painting, you can ask yourself these 3 questions. And undoubtedly, with any bad painting, you're gonna have at least one of these things wrong with your painting, maybe more. So in my case, I actually had 2 of the 3 things wrong with this particular painting. So step number 1 is to assess the color. And you have to ask yourself, is the color in this painting interesting? And if the answer is no, then how do you fix it? I can make all kinds of excuses for myself, but it's just something that I need to work on. I have a tendency to mix too much white into my colors. And what that has done is made this painting very lifeless, very dull. And it's created a painting that looks chalky. It doesn't look warm in the light areas. It actually looks more cool and more lifeless, not more vibrant. So what I need to do is go into the color, use more warms, let the colors speak. And so in a lot of these areas, I'm going to add yellows, oranges, reds, and even in the shadow areas, I'm going to add more color. And I'm going to allow more purples and blues and greens come into the dark areas of the shadows.
When it comes to making shadows, don't use too much black. In fact, try not to use black at all to darken a color. Darken it in some other way and keep the chroma even in the shadow. Just make it a darker value. Just like you can use too much white, you can use too much black. In fact, some people say don't use black at all. Don't be afraid to alter the scene to make it better. So on the front of this building where I start to paint these windows, there was actually a huge sign with a bunch of letters, and when I tried to incorporate that into the painting, but it was a bit distracting and it took away from what I wanted to focus on. Instead, I used it as an opportunity to put in a splash of color. This helps to solidify even further the shadow and light portion of the painting, and it enabled me to put a nice little touch of blue color into the scene as the window is reflecting the sky.
Step number 2 is the story. And you're just looking at the painting and you're asking yourself, what is the story here? What is happening in this painting? And sometimes the story could be as simple as the way that the light is hitting something. Sometimes that is interesting enough to be the story alone. But in this painting, in this case, I don't believe that the story is the light. What attracted me to the scene on this particular street corner was the movement back and forth on the street. There was a train station nearby, and so there's people going to the train station. The focus of the painting was a restaurant on the corner of the street. And so there was a lot of life around this restaurant. There's people going in and out of the restaurant. There's people waiting on the street corner. And so I felt like what I brought home didn't describe any of that life. The people is what made the story. And I start adding figures and movement, and it creates a scene that now is becoming more interesting to look at because it tells a story. Where are these people going? What is life like in the city? What does it feel like to live in the city? Are these people on the street corner, are they waiting to go inside this restaurant? Are they waiting for a friend to show up? There's a lot of life happening, and it tells an interesting story. It paints a picture, quite literally, of what it's like to live in a big city like Tokyo. Step number 3 is assessing value. Value is of the utmost importance, and you could say that maybe the most important thing. You can actually paint a painting using only black and white, and as long as the value is correct, you have a scene, you have an image, you have a painting. Is the value correct? And if it's not correct, where is it wrong and how can I adjust it? In this painting, at first, I would say that the value was not even an issue. But as I started adding in the color, as I started putting in some of the story, the figures became too dark, the shadow was too dark, and I needed to adjust that. I felt like the contrast from the shadow to the light was a little bit too strong, so I wanted to lighten the shadow area just a little bit, so the value was off. Now I have a painting that actually had all 3 of these things wrong with it. It had no life in the color, it had no story to tell, and it had value that just wasn't right.
If you're not sure what value is, any painting is made up of different values. You can have light values, mid-tone values, and dark values, and there's all kinds of in-betweens, but those are the main 3, lights, mids, and darks. And if you have all of these values right in a painting, things will take shape and form. If the light portion is too dark, or if the dark portion is too light, the painting will look flat and everything will start to look the same.
I guarantee you, if you ask yourself these 3 questions and apply this 3-step method to your painting, it is automatically going to be better. It will always improve a painting, and it'll probably turn into something that you can be proud of. But don't forget to subscribe and come back to paint with me again sometime. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.